Hello friends, you're with a Lonesome Gamer, and today I'm playing Imperium Romanun II by Albert A. Nofi with Nicholas Quain, published by West End Games. And as you can see, the game is already set up, simply because I already did a first scenario. It was the Maximinus versus the Senate. I made quite a few mistakes there. Not too bad ones, probably at the end a little bit, but now I'm going to try a bigger scenario, which is, let's see, it's Constantius II versus Magnentius. So let's go into the historical note. Magnentius, one of Constance's generals, murdered him in 350. Constantius immediately mobilized against Magnentius. The usurper had the initiative. By a stroke of brilliance, Vetranio, commander of the Danubian army, prevented it from going over to the usurper by proclaiming himself emperor. This gave Constantius time to get organized. Vetranio soon surrendered himself to honorable retirement, and the emperor marched to Italy, where a series of sharp battles settled Magnentius. Okay, so this thing starts at December AD 350, so it's December. Let's put it here. It's a 350, and it goes to August AD 353, at least historically. The optimum of players is 4, and we're going to go now through the different player factions. There is Magnentius, and this is the purple guy, and he sits here in the west. He controls a ton of provinces. You can see here on the power form, he controls basically all Western Rome. He's got a tax value of 124. This is the biggest of the 4 powers. And yeah, as I said, he controls Italy, Germania, Gaul, Britannia, Spain, and the western part of Africa. Now, against him, at least historically, we have these 2 guys, Constantius and Vetranio. Now, Constantius is the blue and green leader. So he's in the east, and you can see he controls not quite as much. He's got a tax value of 99. The other guy had how many? 124, so there definitely is a difference. Many of his units, the green ones, have only a combat efficiency rating of 4 of B. Only these blue ones, the ones here. And then we have a big army over here, which is stacked here. These guys have a A rating, the others only all B. And Vetranio sits here in the Danube, the red units with an efficiency rating of A. And well, he is much smaller. He controls only a pretty small amount of provinces and only has a tax income of 43. And finally, we have the Persians. And these guys are over there, the orange units. And there is a big army here, and another massive army is sitting here. You can see the stack in Ninus. And yeah, they control also a few provinces. They have a tax value of 39, and their recruiting works a little different. They also need to pay replacement points. They have a replacement rating of 6, and anytime taxation happens, they will also get then replacement points. In addition, we have 3 barbarian tribes which might join the play. There are the Franks up here in Germania Magna. We have the Quadi here in Jazygia, and then we have the Sarmatians in Sarmatia. And if the Roman strength, the Roman army strength in the adjacent provinces should go below a specific point, then we have to roll the die and these guys might get activated. There are also a few client states. We have the Chersonesus, Colchis, and wait a second. Yeah, in Iberia. These 3 are client state of the nearest Roman factions, so which basically means they can simply move through these guys, but I think they cannot recruit in there. And we have Armenia, which is a client state of the Persians. Yeah, okay, so guess we're more or less ready to go now. Oh yeah, we have some special rules, and that is, there we go. We have the civil wars. Basically that means if you have the last remaining emperor, you simply win. We have the militia, which means that some areas have some base combat rating, more or less. This is the militia. It's kind of abstracted. You can then hire them if they die. And we have the Limidony, and I played that wrong. There is a movement penalty in, well, I thought it was in provinces adjacent to non-Roman provinces. And it is written in the scenario how high that penalty is. In this scenario, it is 3. So the way I played it in the last scenario was basically that a unit that starts its move in one of these adjacent provinces has a number of less movement points less. In this case, it would be 3. The last scenario was 2. Well, that's actually wrong. It applies not to the movement points of the unit, but it applies to each single hex. However, it applies not to the whole province, but only to the hexes adjacent to a non-Roman province. So in this case, for example, Boiohemum, if I wanted to enter, let's say, one of these hexes here in Noricum, I had to pay 3 extra movement points. So it's a pretty specific rule, and yeah, we probably will not see that very often happening. Okay, we have the overrun rule, which allows units which allows heavy infantry to overrun weak forces. We have the legionary form. I have to check that. I'm not sure what that actually means. Where is it? There we are. The legionary form. Let's see, that's 31. Okay, legions can never be seasoned. They always remain at the lower strength. All other land units, including barbarian, civilized, non-Roman heavy infantry, can still be seasoned. A legion's stacking value is 2, not 4. Okay, I gotta remember that. Training, we also had that. That's kind of interesting because I find that odd. Wait a minute, maybe I'm wrong here. I thought you can only train units using veteran units, but if you cannot season them, I wonder how you can actually train them. Heavy infantry and heavy cav must be trained. A unit can only be trained by a veteran unit of the same type. Yeah, great. A 1610 legion can train an unseasoned 1010 legion. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Okay. Well, I already see from the setup that there are no veteran units on the board. So if we follow the rules now, that would mean we could not hire additional units, but that does not make any sense. So I guess I want to play it in a way that there has to be a unit of the same type in the place where you want to recruit a new unit, and then you can place the new unit there, place an in training marker on top of that stack, and these two guys are not allowed to move for a month. So basically I follow the standard training rules, except that a veteran unit is required here. Rome and Constantinople are both imperial capitals. Each has a morale value of 16. Corn rules are not used. Okay, let's see the victory conditions. Now, if Constantius or Magnentius is eliminated, the other may jointly declare a victory with Vetranio. Or, if the two cannot agree to do so, the game continues until only a single imperator remains. Okay. No faction may win if it has lost more than one province to non-Roman powers. Persia wins. They control all initial provinces plus Syria and Osrhoene. Well, okay. So I guess now we're really ready to go. Well, we're not quite there yet. There's another interesting point. We are in period 5. So we can take a closer look now at our map here. And we see nearly all the Mediterranean is still cultivated and has roads, except for West Africa. These guys have no roads but are also cultivated. Now we have 2 provinces that are wild but have roads. And this is here I think that is Germania Superior. Yeah, that's over there. And that is Dacia, right here. Now these are wild provinces with no roads. No, that's with roads. So movement is fine. Foraging could be a problem. Now, in all the other northern provinces, they are wild and have no roads. In the east, except for Arabia, which is wild with no roads, and the same here in Zagatia, most of these provinces here are wild but have roads. So movement works fine over there, but foraging is difficult. Basically from, wait a second, I'm not sure, is it Mesopotamia or is it that one here? I think from here, from this Osrhoene, and then Cappadocia. There, from there on, these areas are cultivated. From there on westward and eastward here. So this one here, Adiabene, Mesopotamia, Armenia, these are all still wild, but they have roads. And still we're not ready to go. I wanted to add more special rules, optional rules, and that was, well, we play again with the random events, and now we add optional combat rules. So basically, if you have double the amount of missile units during combat, you can add 1 to your die roll, and the same applies to cavalry units. But I think you cannot add 2 though, although not absolutely. Yeah, but I think, yeah, that is actually the maximum. You can only add 1, even if you have of both type of units the majority. Let me see. The missile and cavalry bonuses can cancel each other out, but cannot both be used together. Yeah, exactly. So, let's start with the random events. It's December, so that means we have a mobilization and taxation, and we're going to start with the random events chart here. Let's see what we get. Now the first player is Magnentius, and he rolls the first die and adds the period, which is 5. So we have an 8. And the second die, he adds the players, which is 4. Okay, that's an 8 and a 7. Wait a second, it's here. So that is no event. Second player is then Constance, and he rolls first. That's a 6. And then, oh, that is a 10. That's also no event. Then we got Veteranio, and he's got a 6 and an 8. And that is event number C. Okay, let's see what that is. Other leader death. Roll again. On a roll of 1 through 5, it was a false alarm, and the player loses 2 morale points. Otherwise, pick one leader at random. This leader dies. Great. Okay, we're good. We lose 2 morale points. Finally, the Persians. That's an 8 and a 5. So that is, yeah, that's also no event. Okay, so as I tend to do it in my solitaire games, I kind of do a personal profile of the different players, and I do this randomly, and most of them are basically random type of guys. But it's interesting to see that Vetrano is extremely aggressive and a very emotional person, so he probably will not wait for the forces of Constance to show up here, but he might try an attack on his own, and that could be a pretty dangerous undertaking. So that might actually be an interesting factor in the game. Persia is also quite aggressive, so I think they also will not hesitate for too long and go for an early strike here, which might also be not the most clever thing to do. But we'll see. Maybe they wait a little bit longer here. So I'm done with the recruitment, and I think I figured out how the training actually works. Even if you don't have a veteran unit in a city, you can still hire a unit following the training rules. You simply cannot train the unit, which means you have to pay double the cost. So therefore, I assume that the units are simply extremely expensive for the Roman players. So I played it that way now, and Magnentius, he hired a few units here in the Narbonensis and in Cisalpine. He could not hire units in Italy simply because there is no leader there. So he was pretty much, he could have hired units in Germania, but I think he also would as its countermix limits here. So therefore, and he paid a lot of money to do that. Actually, I think he paid about $100 or so, because he, for example, hired here a heavy cavalry, which is extremely expensive. A heavy cavalry on its own does cost about, I think, 28. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, that's 28. And now, if you cannot train it, you have to pay 56 for it, which is ridiculous. On the other hand, we have so much money, we're at the limit of our counter mix, so who cares? I did it anyway. Constantine, he actually hired, yeah, he was able to hire especially some light and also some heavy infantry. He did it here, for example, over there, and also some units here in Cappadocia. He had leaders in, I think, 3 recruitment areas, so he was able to hire quite a few units. Of course, for him also the heavy infantry was pretty expensive, but in the end, although he had less money than Magnentius, he was able to hire more units because he has 2 different countermix available, and in addition, his leaders covered more provinces. Vetronio, he was extremely limited. He could only hire 3 units, 1 cavalry in Dalmatia. No, I think in Dalmatia, and then I think 2 more somewhere here in Pannonia Superior, and that's it. Also because his leaders were all only in these 2 provinces. The Persians, they're interesting. They hire in a different way. So usually you simply pay the cost that I indicated here. As I said, the Persians work a little different. They got these replacement points here. So during each taxation phase, they get 6 replacement points. And maybe they started only with, I think they started only with 0. So they had only 6. I kind of messed this up. Yeah, I think I actually hired too many units. I should remove that. Actually, I should remove 2 here. So I'm going to remove these 2. Okay, so the thing is, you got to pay not only the cost for the unit in gold, but also the cost in replacement points, and the cost of replacement points is equal to the stacking value of a unit. On the other side, there are no restrictions for any province recruitment limits or so. So as long as you have enough counters, and as long as you have enough gold and replacement points, and as you have enough cities to place your units, remember you can only place 2 units per city in, or 2 units per round in each city. And of course then again you need your leaders. You can only place units in cities and provinces where you have leaders. But there is not this limit here that we have here on our mobilization chart, which indicates that only a certain amount of units can be recruited during a year. So, we're done with the recruitment, and I'm going to go to bed now, and tomorrow we'll finally see the first movement, I guess. So, it's the first month now, and there's a lot of maneuvering going on. We have these huge armies, sometimes at the maximum of the counter mix, and it takes me a really long time to do all this. Always the counting, if the stacking is fine, and if they are all in supply. For example, these guys have 50 stacking points. Up here it's even 59. So there's a lot of counting going on and calculating, and then you have the different movement rates. During winter things go slow, supply is hard to find, so it's not that simple. Basically, the troops of Maximinus moved east, trying to find a battle with the troops of, what was his name? Vetronio, or let me see, Vetranio, yeah, exactly, there he is. So they move east, they have definitely more troops than Vetranio has, although he also has quite a force. Down here, it's this massive force from Magnentius, and he moved here from here to there with a baggage train with him, trying to take Noricum. So that he can then maybe in the next recruitment phase, if he takes that area, he might be able to buy or build another baggage train there, and from then on move further east I've sent a leader here to Rome to be able to recruit there in Italy in the next phase. I've moved these guys here, another army from, I'm not sure from where they came, somewhere here, a few steps more to the west. Here in Britain, I moved some guys from north to south. Maybe if it's winter, bring them with the fleet over here. So these are all kind of these preparing movements. Over here, this is this big force here under that unnamed general. This force, 59 heavy infantry is with them. They moved here, just a few steps, and attacked a Persian force in this area here of Ninus. But the Persians retreated, and it was a pretty big force too, but they didn't feel like they could beat that massive Roman force, and they want to wait, and then maybe they can in the next turn do an attack by themselves if this force comes also into play and helps them. Then they feel a little more confident they can do this. That costs them 5 morale points though. Retreating is usually not a great thing. The other option for them would be to kind of, always retreat a little bit, and then in some guerrilla tactics move down these fast cavalry units down here to Syria and Judea. These areas are not that good protected anymore because I moved some of my armies north with the intention to simply march over here to Europe. For example, this stack here, which is also comes with a few legions, and I also moved a few armies down here, or 1 legion basically and 1 light infantry, simply to protect this rich province of Egypt, just in case Magnentius should have the idea and maybe in summer then do an attack against Egypt. Just want to show him, no, that's not going to work. Apart from that, I did split a big army of Constantine. Some of the units I've sent here, I think a heavy cavalry unit to reinforce these guys. The others went basically west. Some ended up here, some here. These were all points where they could find enough supply. A heavy cavalry has 8 stacking points, so if you have 2 of these, it's pretty insane. We have summer in this area, and it is clear, so we could place 2 there in each space, but otherwise it's going to be really hard to find a way to supply these people. And then we have that stack here with Constantine. So yeah, that's the plan basically, to move his forces westward. For Vetranio it was hard to find good positions for its unit. I was thinking a long time what to do. I even thought about attacking down here, Magnentius. I wasn't sure if one option would, for example, was to pull back behind these rivers here, over there, and maybe even build fortifications there, try to hold the line and wait until these troops of Constantius come as reinforcements. Then again, there was the threat that Magnentius would simply move down here, across the Balkans, capture these provinces, Dalmatia, Illyricum, Macedonia, all that for a cheap price. In the end, I kind of came up with a plan that, well, kind of a mixture here. First, I pulled back a few of my troops to actually, these troops from here, I put them back here, and these troops that were here, I brought them more into the west. So they're gonna unite here, and then I want to build a line behind the rivers, maybe build some fortification and make it hard for Magnentius' troops to cross the river and march east. On the other hand, I try to secure here, for example, Salone or Dicemenium, these cities here. Bring units in there, so maybe I can either provoke Magnentius to do an assault, and we'll see what happens then. I mean, that we might be in a better position there, or go into a siege, and well, that will cost some time. Similar thing here in Noricum. I even have a baggage train with me here. Have a few units there in Noreia. So if you want to march through here, if you want to take the province Noricum, he can also make that decision, assault or siege. Same here, between the rivers, Poctovio, also some units. So we'll see what Magnentius will decide, how he wants to react to that. But these suckers should not be here, actually. No idea where they were. Shit. Okay, I'm pretty sure I corrected that. I placed them now here. And because there were not too many heavy cavalry on the board during setup, I think it makes sense these two guys go there. So now we see the turn of the Persians, and they will try and attack now here against this force over there. I mean, if I want to reach something here, I can do it as well now. And I got my whole force available, so I can try a strike here right away. So let's see, I think these guys, they have baggage trains. So I gotta count all the stacking points, do the calculations, and then see that I have enough supply to enter that space here, Ninus. This is pretty insane. This is a massive battle that will go into history. Look at these forces here. This is all heavy. These two are heavy cavalry. Here, there too. Also here, 3 units of heavy cavalry. Overall, the Persians have a strength of 196. The Romans have a strength of 189. So it's nearly the same size. The Persians have the advantage, though. They have as well more cavalry as more missile units. So in the end they get a +1 to their roll. They cannot get a +2, that's not allowed, but they get a +1. The Romans have the legions that makes them better in infantry. The Persians only have these light infantry units. And now we come to the table and we're going to see what happens. This is a massive battle, and yeah, let me take a dice tray for that. There we go. So Persians are the attacker, we are on the one-on-one table, so it's pure luck this time. But yeah, not quite. We can add 1 for the Persians here. So let's see what we get. Oh boy, unbelievable, that's a 7. Holy shit. That means, my goodness, the Romans are completely eliminated and the Persians only lose 1/4 of the forces that the Romans lost. So basically 1/4 of their forces. That is insane. The perfect role for Persia. And that is a big blow against the Roman forces, against the forces of Constantius in general, because if they want to keep the Persians from their winning, they have to use the remaining forces to push them back. But then again, Magnentius can march westward with his army, try to destroy the forces of Vetranio. That was definitely crazy. So let me calculate now all this. And of course we also have to think about the morale now. Constantius is going to lose a lot of morale. He's at 95. We'll see how bad it hits him. No named leaders were involved. That's at least something. Still, these are massive losses here. So, the Persians get 2 points for killing the leader, 2 points for winning the battle, 41 points is the difference between the casualties. So in the end the Persians get 45 morale points. This is absolutely insane. That brings them to 140, while Constantius is only at 50 now. So that gives him another disadvantage. If the Persians manage to get 10 more points or so, then it would be already a +2 modifier for morale only. So Constantius has to do something here. And that is obviously to the advantage of Magnentius then. We have this supply train here, which was with the army of the Romans. Now we are civilized non-Romans. That means we got to roll what happens on a 1 to 4. We can keep this thing, otherwise it's been plundered by our troops. Yep, that's a 1, so we are allowed to keep the supply train. This is our 3rd supply train here. And that brings then the stack to 56 stacking value. So it's now January, and we are now in the diplomacy phase. And Vetranio is actually considering for a moment treachery here and saying, you know, my old friend Constantius, it looks bad after that battle. The news reached me that Ninus is fallen, that your whole army is wiped out. You've lost a leader. So it seems to me like we will both end up in the Colosseum with lions if I stay on your side. So I might join the winner's side, which is definitely the other guy there, Magnentius. Then Constantius simply says, you know what, guys? If you fall from me now, if you join the other side, I'm simply going to leave Syria and Osrhoene. I'm simply going to pull all my troops to the west and leave these two provinces to the Persians, and then we'll all lose. Rome will not win, and the Persians will win the game. And that kind of motivates these guys, or at least him, to continue the battle on the side of Constantius, because it's a sure loss and a fast loss if the Persians will take these two provinces. Okay, Magnentius pushing its troops more to the east. Again, we had to check for supply a lot. We have a nice force here in Brigantium with heavy infantry, light infantry, heavy cavalry, light cavalry. We had to split the other units up a bit, otherwise there would not have been enough food there. And we got the big force here, and they're gonna assault Norea. And we have another big force, these guys here, with some heavy infantry, some light infantry, and they marched through Cisalpine from Segusio to Aquileia, reinforcing then this area here. So now we're going to see the assault, and the tricky thing here is there is, first of all, there is militia in there, but that is not a lot. I think these are only, the militia only has a value of 6. Let me see. This one here, Mysia and Pannonia, that's 7. Noricum, exactly. So there is a militia with a combat value of 6. We can double that, so that's 12 points then, and the others also get doubled. So let's see what they have. Well, that's quite a force. So we have here basically twice 16. That makes it, wow, that's not bad actually. I didn't really see that. I only knew what was on the top. I didn't only see the 4, so it's quite a bit. Okay, that's 16. 60 makes it 32. We can double that. It's 64. Then we add 12. So we are here at 76. That is a lot. Oh shit, I might have been too optimistic here. Let's see how much we have, but this is not looking that good. This is 16, 20. Well, okay, it's not that bad. 32, 34, 36, 40, 48. That is 54, 60. And now that's not that simple. We have to subtract 6, so we are at 54 again, because cavalry only counts half if assaulting the city. So that means we're at 54. And these guys, Wait a second, I'm gonna calculate all the cav together here. Okay, we have a cavalry value of 99. So let's make that 50. Yeah, okay, so I think it's actually not that bad. So we are at 98. And we have the superiority in missile units. We got these two guys here. I assume cavalry doesn't give you any advantage here. So that gives us a +1 die roll. On the other hand, we get also +1 die roll for Magnentius, but because this is a mountain city or a rough area, it's also a +1 for the defender here. So it's only a +1 modifier for the attacker. Okay, once again we're going to see a damn close battle. It's again on the one-on-one table because the rounding is in favor of the defender. So 93 versus 77. A fourth of that, I mean, if we go through this, a fifth of that would be about 18, if I'm not mistaken here. And 4 times 18 would be 72. So that means because they have 77, we are on that 1-to-1 table and not on the 5-to-4 table. So therefore, we can add +1 in favor of the attacker, Magnentius, but that's actually it. So let's see what we roll here. Okay, again another 6. Very lucky here for Magnentius. That's a 7, that's again. The defender is eliminated and we lose 1/4 of the points that the defender lost. That is not so bad because this is not doubled then. So in the end we're only going to lose about 1 heavy infantry or something like that. But it was a risky game and I'm not sure if I want to do that again. So in the end, it was a big risk because it could have been a devastating result for Magnentius, but although it was now the best possible outcome for him, the result for Vetranio wasn't actually that bad. It was just a loss of 8 morale. He lost the battle and there were only 6 stacking points in there. So it wasn't that bad. Not even that many, I think. No, I think there were only 5 stacking points. He's lost the province, which also was worth 1 morale point, and the battle 2. But in the end, it wasn't that bad. But still, Vetranio is now at 70 morale, while Magnentius is at 127. So he's now also over the edge, and that gives him a +1 bonus when fighting more battles against Vetranio. So it's looking now even worse for him. Okay, let's see what Constantius can do. So Constantius did send one of his leaders with a massive army. This guy here, and this is his army. Extremely big army, 59 stacking value, to attack this big Persian army at Ninus, but the Persians simply could retreat. They have that much light cavalry that it's going to be extremely hard to force them into a fight. And the Persians say, okay, we can wait a while. It's cost us every time 5 morale points, which hurts. But on the other hand, these guys might get problems with supply. They have to supply this massive force, and they only have 2 baggage trains. One is completely full, the other one only basically has 1 more point, and then it has to be discarded. And they have to pay 2 baggage points each turn. So they can do this, I think, 3 or 4 turns, and then it's over. 1, 2, 3 turns, I guess. And then they cannot supply that army as a whole. Then they have to split up. The Persians are in a better shape, simply because they captured 1 baggage train from the Romans in the last battle. So they have, first of all, they don't have that many people to feed. And apart from that, they have, well, these are 1, 2, 3 points, I guess. 4, 5, 6. So they can do this, I don't know, definitely more often than the enemy. They can keep their army together. So sooner or later, if the other guys have to split up, then the Persians might use that to their advantage and attack the isolated armies, or the divided army. Of course, there might be then some kind of interception possible, but for that they would need 1 more leader, which they don't have right now. There's only 1 leader. But actually I forgot to roll for that leader reinforcement. I can do that now. I'm not sure what I need actually. Let's see. Damn it. Well, actually that leader cannot come back before March. So that's another problem here. Anyway, the other units of Constantius moved more westward. These ones here in Asia Minor pushed westwards. These ones here, which were more in Thrace, they also moved there. So they are now close to uniting with the forces of Vetronio, is his name, Vetranio. So we might see a formal alliance there in the next turn. And let's see what Vetranio does. He might try now to move back behind the river and maybe start building some fortifications. Okay, now this is pretty crazy actually. And also, I don't know how realistic this is. It looks more like a game of the First World War or Second World War. I have a feeling that usually the armies kind of stayed together in the antique times, but because there is only 1 baggage train and this is here, everybody is trying to get as close as possible around that train, and then if this guy comes closer, we'll try to jump on it so that we can make this massive attack as a whole then. But for now it's so hard to forage in the areas that we have to do this weird coverage all across the Balkans here. Definitely a strange situation. So the Persians ain't gonna do a lot. Basically they're just sitting here waiting for the Romans to attack again, and then they're gonna retreat again. If they would march to Seleucia, for example, then the Romans could actually follow them and, you know, take that city out too and then push them back further and further. But right there, they're in a pretty good position actually. And they're also kind of lucky because it's exactly 56 and the clear area can support 24 units or 24 stacking points. A baggage train can support 32. So they're simply going to spend one of these baggage train points and that brings it then to 56. That's all they have to do. I mean, on the other hand, what they could do is they could move into one of these cities and replenish the baggage train, but if they do that and try to replenish the baggage train, but the Romans could simply follow them, push them out of the city, and then they could not do it anyway. So I think they just will remain here and, yeah, wait until the Romans are out of supply. Okay, I guess I'm going to load this up now. Kind of thought about playing to the next mobilization phase, but this is 2 more months, and I think I cannot. There's not enough room here. Yeah, I think that it's hard to tell, but it looks to me like Magnentius is actually in the better position after that bad defeat of the Romans here in the east. That big army of Constantius will be forced to remain there to prevent the Persians from taking out Syria and Osrhoene, so that in the end Constantius can only send a few forces to the west, these and this stack here basically. And then it's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll see a battle between, I mean, these are quite a bit, it's not that little, you know, these are a lot of forces that we have here. I mean, Magnentius, he cannot face these guys with this army alone. This is not going to be enough. But there is still this army here. If he can bring his troops down there, he might be able to build up a big enough army to make this an even battle. And then if he can defeat, if he's lucky and can defeat these guys, it's definitely looking better for him. This is going to be the one big battle, I guess. But until that happens, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen during winter. So we're going to see some dancing around, fiddling around with the troops, trying to position the troops in a clever way. Before then, in the summer, everybody is kind of fast enough to get to his battle, to his supply train, and then we'll probably see a big battle there. Okay, well, until then, yeah, hope to see you then, or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.